As I sit in this courtroom today, my hands are wrapped around a thick manila envelope that has become almost sacred to me over the past 12 years. The envelope is worn at the edges, creased from being opened and closed so many times, but the documents inside are pristine, organized, dated, and notarized. I've been waiting for this day, though I prayed it would never come. Across the aisle, my son Daniel sits with his lawyer, a sharp-dressed man named Richard Pemberton, who keeps glancing at his expensive watch. Daniel is 38 now, though the years haven't been kind to him. He looks older than he should, with dark circles under his eyes and a nervous energy that makes him tap his fingers constantly against the table. His suit is new, probably rented for today, and he keeps adjusting his tie like it's choking him. The judge, Honorable Patricia Morrison, is reviewing the initial filing. "Mr. Henderson," she says, looking over her reading glasses at my son, "you're petitioning the court for immediate custody of 4 minor children, ages 12, 14, 16, and 17, who have been in the care of their grandmother for the past 12 years. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," Daniel says, his voice steady, but his hands betraying him with that constant tapping. "My mother has had my children long enough. I'm ready to be their father again. I have a stable home, a good job, and I want my family back." The judge turns to me. "Mrs. Henderson, you filed a counterpetition opposing this custody transfer. Is that correct?" I stand slowly, my arthritis making the movement harder than it used to be. Firmly, "Yes, Your Honor. There are things this court needs to know before any decision is made. Things that will completely change how we understand the situation." Mr. Pemberton stands quickly. "Your Honor, Mrs. Henderson has had 12 years with these children. Surely that's been enough time. My client has turned his life around and deserves the chance to raise his own children. We can't punish him forever for past mistakes." Past mistakes. That's what they're calling it now. 12 years of absolute silence, 12 years of not a single phone call, not one birthday card, not one Christmas present, not one child support payment. 12 years of me selling my wedding ring, my mother's jewelry, taking on extra cleaning jobs at the church, skipping meals so those babies could eat. Past mistakes. "Your Honor," I say, my voice stronger now, firmly, "I'd like permission to present evidence that will provide necessary context for this court's decision." Judge Morrison nods. "Proceed, Mrs. Henderson." I place the envelope on the table in front of me, but don't open it yet. Deep breath. I need to take this court back 12 years, to the day that changed all of our lives. May I tell that story? "Please do," the judge says, settling back in her chair. It was a Tuesday afternoon in March, 12 years ago. I remember because I had just come home from my shift at the library where I worked part-time. My husband Robert had passed away 2 years earlier, and I was still adjusting to living alone in our small house. The house felt too big without him, too quiet. I pulled into my driveway and immediately saw Daniel's car, an old sedan that was always one repair away from breaking down completely. But what made my heart sink was the sight of 4 car seats in the back, and Daniel carrying a sleeping toddler at my front steps, while 3 other small children followed him behind like confused ducklings. Emma was 5 years old then. Michael was 3. The twins, Sarah and Jacob, were just 18 months old. Tearfully, they were beautiful children, but they looked like they hadn't been bathed in days. Emma's hair was matted and tangled. Michael was wearing a diaper that desperately needed changing. The twins were both crying, that exhausted, hungry cry that breaks your heart. "Mom," Daniel said when he saw me, and I could see immediately that something was very wrong. His eyes were red, his hands were shaking, and he looked like he hadn't slept in a week. "Mom, I need help, just for a little while, just until I get things sorted out." I unlocked the door and ushered them all inside. The children immediately scattered, looking for food, touching everything with sticky hands. Daniel set the sleeping toddler on my couch and ran his hands through his hair. Desperately, "It's bad, Mom. Karen left me. Just packed up and left 3 weeks ago, said she couldn't do this anymore." And I'm trying, I really am. But I have this job opportunity in Nevada. It's a construction job, big money, and I could really turn things around if I could just focus on work for a few weeks. A few weeks? I repeated, looking at these 4 babies who were tearing through my kitchen looking for anything edible. I'll send money, Daniel promised. Frantically, every week I'll send money, and I'll call every day, and as soon as I get established, I'll come get them. I promise, Mom. I promise. I looked at those children, really looked at them, and my grandmother's instinct took over. Daniel, these babies need baths, food, and clean clothes immediately. When was the last time they ate? He couldn't meet my eyes. Yesterday morning, I think. I've been so stressed, Mom, I can't think straight. That's when I made my first decision. Before anything else, before any more promises or explanations, I went to my bedroom and got my phone. I took pictures. I photographed Emma's matted hair, Michael's unchanged diaper, the twins crying in their filthy clothes. I photographed the condition of their car seats, covered in old food and stains. I photographed the single plastic bag Daniel had brought with them that was supposed to be their clothes for a few weeks, containing maybe 3 outfits total, none of them clean. Then I took Daniel aside while the children were distracted with crackers I'd found in my pantry. Daniel, I need you to write something for me. I need you to write down exactly what's happening here, the date and what you're promising. Mom, you don't trust me? He asked, hurt in his voice. I'm 72 years old and I've raised my children. If I'm going to take on 4 more babies, even for a few weeks, I need to protect myself and protect them. Please, just write it down. So he did. With a pen I gave him, on my kitchen notepad, Daniel Henderson wrote, March 15th, 2013, I am leaving my 4 children with my mother, Margaret Henderson, temporarily while I establish employment in Nevada. I will send money weekly and call regularly. This is just for a few weeks until I get situated. Signed, Daniel Henderson. I had him dated, sign it, and I took a photo of him signing it. Then I put it in an envelope that would eventually hold many more documents. That first night was chaos. 4 traumatized children who didn't understand why their father was leaving, why they were in a strange house, why everything was changing. Emma cried herself to sleep asking for her mother. Michael had accidents because he'd barely been potty trained. The twins took turns waking up screaming every hour. I was 60 years old, exhausted, grieving my husband, and suddenly I had 4 babies depending on me completely. The next morning, Daniel left before dawn. He heard his car start, heard him pull away, and I didn't even get to say goodbye. The children woke up asking for him, and I had to explain that Daddy had to go to work, but he'd be back soon. The first week, he called every day like he promised. His voice was excited on the phone, talking about this construction job, the opportunities, how he'd be sending money any day now. The children would fight over the phone, each wanting to talk to Daddy, telling him about their day in Grandma's house. The second week, the calls dropped to every other day. By the third week, it was once a week. Pause. The money he promised never came. Not that first week, not ever. I went through my savings first. Robert had left me a little life insurance money, maybe $30,000 that I'd been carefully managing. Tearfully, that went to buying beds for the children, clothes that fit them, food to fill the pantry and refrigerator. I enrolled Emma in kindergarten and found a daycare that would take the 3 younger ones while I worked. But $30,000 doesn't last long with 4 children. Quietly, by month 3, I sold my wedding ring. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. That ring had been on my finger for 43 years, since the day Robert proposed to me under an oak tree in Memorial Park. But Emma needed shoes, and Michael needed to see a dentist, and the twins needed formula. I sold my mother's pearl necklace to pay for winter coats. I sold the antique dresser that had been in my family for 3 generations to catch up on the mortgage payment I'd fallen behind on. Daniel's phone calls became once a month, then once every few months. Pause. His excuses were always the same. Work was tough, he was trying to save money, things would get better soon. He never asked specific questions about the children, never asked what size clothes they wore now, what grade Emma was in, whether the twins were walking yet. 6 months after he left, I hired a lawyer and filed for legal guardianship of the children. Firmly, I wasn't trying to take them from Daniel permanently. I needed legal authority to make medical decisions, to enroll them in school, to do all the things a parent needs to do. I published the required legal notices in the Nevada newspapers, trying to reach Daniel officially. He never responded. A year after Daniel left, the phone call stopped completely. Pause. For 11 years after that, I didn't hear from my son at all. Not a word. Not a phone call, not a letter, not an email. Nothing. Tearfully, do you know what it's like to raise children who ask you every birthday, every Christmas, "Is Daddy coming? Did Daddy call?" And having to tell them, "No, sweetheart, not today, but I'm sure he loves you very much." I had to be there for everything, softly. Emma's first day of middle school, when she was terrified and needed someone to tell her she looked beautiful. Michael's soccer games, every single one, cheering from the sidelines. The twins' first words, first steps, first everything. I documented it all, took photos, kept journals, hoping that someday I could show Daniel what he'd missed. But I also documented the abandonment. Every month for 12 years, I wrote down the date and noted, "No contact from Daniel, no phone call, no financial support." I kept a detailed ledger of every expense. $147.32 for Emma's school supplies in September 2014, $89.50 for Michael's winter boots in January 2015, $2,341.18 for the twins' braces in March 2018. The total amount I spent raising Daniel's children for 12 years came to exactly $347,892.43. Not including my time, not including the emotional labor, not including the sacrifices, just the actual documented expenses. I worked 3 jobs at one point. Morning shift at the library, afternoon shift cleaning offices, weekend shift at a grocery store. I was 65 years old, cleaning toilets in office buildings at 10 o'clock at night so that I could buy Christmas presents for 4 children who deserved to have some magic in their lives. And through it all, not one word from Daniel. The children stopped asking about their father eventually. By the time the twins were in 3rd grade, they didn't even remember him. Emma, the oldest, remembered the most, but even her memories faded into a vague sense of someone who used to be there once long ago. They started calling me Mom instead of Grandma around year 5. I didn't correct them. I had earned that title through every sleepless night, every school meeting, every scraped knee, every nightmare, every triumph and tragedy. I was their mother in every way that mattered. 3 months ago, everything changed. I received a certified letter from a lawyer's office in Nevada. My hands shook as I opened it. Daniel was petitioning for custody of his children. Full, immediate custody. I couldn't breathe. For 12 years, nothing. Not even a birthday card. And now suddenly he wanted them back? That's when I hired a private investigator. His name was James Morrison, a retired police detective who specialized in family cases. I gave him $5,000, the last of my savings from selling my car, and I asked him to find out why Daniel was suddenly interested in his children after 12 years of abandonment. What James found changed everything. Daniel Henderson was in serious financial trouble. He had developed a gambling addiction about 8 years ago, shortly after moving to Nevada. He'd hidden it well at first, but it had spiraled out of control.
He owed $78,000 to various casinos, loan sharks, and credit card companies. He'd lost his job 3 months ago. He was facing eviction from his apartment. His girlfriend of 5 years had left him when she discovered the extent of his debts. But there was more. James discovered that I had been named as the beneficiary on a life insurance policy from the school district where I'd worked for 20 years. The policy was worth $200,000, payable upon my death or retirement. I had taken early retirement 6 months ago due to my arthritis, and the payout had been issued last month. Daniel had somehow found out about this money. James also discovered that Daniel had been calling relatives, trying to find out about my finances. He'd contacted his cousin Linda, asking about my health, my living situation, whether I had any assets worth knowing about. Linda had mentioned the life insurance payout in passing, not thinking anything of it. Within 2 weeks of that conversation, Daniel filed for custody. James's report included screenshots of text messages between Daniel and his ex-girlfriend. In one message, Daniel wrote, "If I can get the kids back, I can claim them as dependents, get child support from welfare, and maybe even guilt-trip my mom into giving me some of that insurance money to help with the transition. It's my way out of this debt." Another message, "The kids probably don't even remember me, but they're mine legally. Mom can't fight me in court. She doesn't have money for lawyers." James documented everything. He found that Daniel had also taken out several credit cards in his children's names over the years, using their social security numbers. Emma's credit score was destroyed before she even turned 16. He'd stolen his own children's identities to feed his gambling addiction. All of this was in my manila envelope. I'm brought back to the present by Judge Morrison's voice. "Mrs. Henderson, you've been silent for a full minute. Are you all right?" I look up at her, then at Daniel, then at Mr. Pemberton. "I apologize, Your Honor. The memories are difficult, but yes, I'm ready to continue." "Please," she gestures for me to go on. As I was saying, Daniel left 12 years ago. For the first few months, there was minimal contact, then nothing. Nothing for 11 years and 9 months. The children grew up without a father. I raised them alone, sacrificing everything I had. Mr. Pemberton stands. "Your Honor, my client acknowledges that he made mistakes in the past. He was young, struggling, dealing with personal issues. But he's a changed man now. He's completed an addiction recovery program, he's got a new job lined up, and he's ready to be a father to his children." "A new job lined up," I repeat softly. "Your Honor, may I ask Mr. Pemberton a question?" "You may," Judge Morrison says. I turn to the lawyer. "Mr. Pemberton, are you aware of the $78,000 in gambling debts your client currently owes?"
The lawyer's face goes blank. "I'm sorry, what? Are you aware that your client has been unemployed for the past 3 months, that he's currently facing eviction, that he has no stable housing, no income, and significant creditor problems?" Mr. Pemberton looks at Daniel, confusion and something like anger crossing his face. "Daniel, what is she talking about?" Daniel shifts in his seat. "I told you I had some financial issues, Rick. It's not as bad as she's making it sound." $78,000 in gambling debts isn't bad, I ask, my voice sharp now. Or perhaps Mr. Pemberton also doesn't know that you've stolen your children's identities to open credit cards, that Emma's credit is destroyed because of you. "That's a lie," Daniel shouts, standing up. "Your Honor, my mother is making up stories to keep my children from me." "Sit down, Mr. Henderson," Judge Morrison says firmly. She looks at me. "Mrs. Henderson, these are serious allegations. I assume you have proof." "I have extensive proof, Your Honor. May I present it?" "Please do." I open the manila envelope with steady hands. The first thing I pull out is a stack of photographs, printed on good quality photo paper, each one dated and time-stamped. I hand them to the bailiff, who passes them to the judge. These are photographs from the day Daniel brought the children to me, 12 years ago. I explain,
These children were in deplorable condition, unwashed, unfed, neglected. I took these photos immediately because some part of me knew I would need documentation of how this all began. Judge Morrison studies the photos, her expression becoming more troubled with each one. These children are clearly in distress. Yes, Your Honor, I have medical records from their first pediatrician visit 1 week after Daniel left them with me. The doctor documented malnutrition, diaper rash, and signs of neglect. I hand over another set of documents. The children's teachers from that year also provided statements about their condition when they first started school. Mr. Pemberton is frantically whispering with Daniel, who looks increasingly panicked. Your Honor, I also have the handwritten note Daniel gave me that first day. I pull out the now faded piece of notepad paper carefully preserved in a plastic sleeve. In his own handwriting, he acknowledges leaving the children with me temporarily and promises to send money weekly. As you can see, it's signed and dated March 15, 2013. I hand over the original and a certified copy. The money he promised never came, not once in 12 years. Your Honor, my client was struggling financially at the time, Mr. Pemberton starts. At the time, I interrupt, sharply. He's struggling now too, but that didn't stop him from spending his money at casinos, did it? Judge Morrison holds up her hand. Mrs. Henderson, please continue with your evidence presentation. Yes, Your Honor. This next set of documents is a complete financial ledger of every expense I incurred raising Daniel's 4 children for 12 years. As you can see, each entry is dated and includes receipts where applicable. The total comes to $347,892.43. I watch as the judge flips through the meticulously organized binder. This is remarkable documentation, Judge Morrison says quietly. I wanted to make sure that if this day ever came, the court would see the full picture, I explained. I also have a record of every attempt I made to contact Daniel over the years, phone records showing calls that were unanswered, letters returned as undeliverable, the legal notices I published when filing for guardianship, which he never responded to. Daniel is shaking his head. Dad, why are you doing this? I just want my kids back. Can't you forgive me for making mistakes? I turn to look at my son for the first time since entering the courtroom. Forgive you? I say softly. Daniel, forgiveness and enabling are not the same thing. I forgave you years ago for what you did to me, but what you did to your children is something they have to forgive, not me. And taking them from the only stable home they've known to satisfy your own agenda is not something I can support. My own agenda? He says, and I can hear the guilt in his voice. What are you talking about? I pull out the next document. Your Honor, this is the report from the private investigator I hired 3 months ago when I received Daniel's custody petition. I needed to understand why, after 12 years of complete abandonment, my son suddenly wanted his children back. I hand the thick report to the bailiff. I pulled that high vein flow. As you'll see, Daniel Henderson owes $78,000 in gambling debts. He lost his job 3 months ago. He's facing eviction. His girlfriend left him. He's desperate. Mr. Pemberton is reading his own copy of the report that I hand to him, his face growing redder by the second. You told me you had a job lined up, he says to Daniel. You told me you were stable.
I am, Daniel insists, frantically. I'm getting things together. I just need time. Your Honor, I continue, my voice steady, firmly. Page 15 of that report contains screenshots of text messages between Daniel and his ex-girlfriend. In those messages, he explicitly states his plan to get the children back so he can claim them as dependents, receive welfare benefits, and pressure me into giving him money from my life insurance payout. The courtroom is absolutely silent. Judge Morrison is reading the text messages, her expression becoming increasingly severe. "It's my way out of this debt," she reads aloud. "Mom can't fight me in court. She doesn't have money for lawyers." "Mr. Henderson, did you write these messages?" Daniel's face has gone white. That was taken out of context. I was just venting to my girlfriend. I didn't mean—" "And this message here," the judge continues, coldly, "where you discuss using the children to guilt your mother into giving you money, was that also taken out of context?" "Your Honor, I love my children," Daniel says, and there are actual tears in his eyes now. Desperately. "Yes, I'm in a bad situation financially. Yes, I've made mistakes, but I genuinely want to be their father again. I've missed them so much." "You've missed them?" I say, and my voice breaks despite my intention to stay calm. "Daniel, you don't even know them. You don't know that Emma wants to be a veterinarian. You don't know that Michael is afraid of the dark and needs a nightlight. You don't know that Sarah is allergic to peanuts or that Jacob plays the violin. You don't know their favorite colors, their best friends' names, their dreams, their fears. You don't know them at all because you chose not to know them." "That's not fair," Daniel says. "You turned them against me. You made sure they forgot about me." "I didn't know such thing. For the first 3 years, I showed them your picture every day. I told them their father loved them and would be back soon. I made excuses for you when you didn't call, didn't write, didn't visit. But children aren't stupid, Daniel. Eventually, they figured out on their own that you had abandoned them." Judge Morrison sets down the report. "Mrs. Henderson, is there more evidence you wish to present?" "Yes, Your Honor. 2 more items." I reach into the envelope and pull out a notarized document. Coldly, "This is documentation of identity theft. Daniel used his children's social security numbers to open credit cards over the years. Emma's credit score is currently 410 because of unpaid debts in her name, debts she knew nothing about until I started investigating. The credit bureaus have confirmed these accounts were opened fraudulently." Mr. Pemberton stands abruptly. "Your Honor, I was not informed of any of this. I would like to request a recess to speak with my client privately." "Denied," Judge Morrison says. "I want to hear all of the evidence Mrs. Henderson has prepared. We'll address your concerns afterward. Please continue, Mrs. Henderson." I pull out the final document. This one is the hardest. "Your Honor, this is a letter written by Daniel Henderson 7 years ago. I hired a private investigator to locate him after year 5 of no contact, mainly to ensure he was alive. The investigator found him and delivered a letter from me asking him to please make contact with his children or relinquish his parental rights so I could legally adopt them and give them the stability they deserved." I hand the letter to the bailiff. "Your Honor, this is his response." Judge Morrison reads the letter aloud. "Margaret, I can't be their father right now. I have a new life in Nevada, a new girlfriend, new opportunities. The kids are better off with you. I don't want to relinquish my rights, though, because that seems too permanent. Just keep taking care of them. I'll sort things out eventually. Daniel." The silence in the courtroom is deafening. "He had a new life," I say quietly, tearfully. "While I was working 3 jobs to feed his children, while I was helping with homework at midnight after finishing my cleaning shift, while I was attending every parent-teacher conference and every school play and every soccer game, he had a new life. He couldn't even be bothered to send a birthday card, but he didn't want to permanently give up his rights to them. Mom," Daniel says, and he's openly crying now, desperately, "I was scared. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know how to be a father. I thought they were better off without me." "And what's changed?" I ask, turning to face him fully, firmly. "You're still scared. You're still overwhelmed, but now you're also desperate and you see your children as a solution to your financial problems.
That's not love, Daniel. That's exploitation. Mr. Pemberton has his head in his hands. Your Honor, I need to make a statement. I was retained by Mr. Henderson under false pretenses. He told me his mother was refusing to return his children out of spite, that he'd been trying to reconnect for years, but she blocked all contact. He told me he had a stable job in housing. None of this appears to be true. It is true, Daniel shouts angrily. She did block me. She changed her phone number. She moved. I've lived in the same house for 47 years. The same house you grew up in. The same phone number I've had for 30 years. You knew exactly where to find us, Daniel. You just didn't want to until now, when you needed something from us.
Judge Morrison is making notes. Mrs. Henderson, I have one question. If your son had come back at any point in these 12 years, genuinely seeking to rebuild a relationship with his children, would you have allowed it? Yes, Your Honor, in a heartbeat. These children needed their father. I would have given anything for Daniel to step up and be the parent they deserved. But that's not what's happening here. He's not seeking a relationship with his children. He's seeking a solution to his financial crisis. That's not true, Daniel insists. Your Honor, I love my kids. Yes, I'm in a bad place right now, but I want to make things right. I want to be their dad again. Mr. Henderson, Judge Morrison says, her voice sharp, love is not a feeling you express when it's convenient. Love is a verb. It's the action of showing up, day after day, year after year. It's the sacrifice of putting someone else's needs before your own. Your mother has demonstrated love for your children for 12 years. What have you demonstrated? Daniel has no answer for that. The judge looks at me. Mrs. Henderson, are the children here today? They're in the waiting room with my neighbor, Your Honor. I didn't want them to hear this unless absolutely necessary. I'd like to speak with them, she says, particularly the older ones who can articulate their own wishes. Bailiff, please bring them in. The door opens and my 4 grandchildren walk in. Emma is 17 now, tall and beautiful, looking so much like her mother. Michael is 15, gangly and awkward in the way teenage boys are. The twins, Sarah and Jacob, are 13, still young enough to be nervous in a courtroom. They walk past Daniel without looking at him, arranging themselves on the bench behind me. Emma puts her hand on my shoulder. It's okay, Grandma. We're here. Judge Morrison addresses them gently. Emma, Michael, Sarah, Jacob, I know this is difficult, but I need to understand your perspective. Your father is petitioning for custody of you. How do you feel about that? Emma is the first to speak. She stands, her voice clear and steady. Your Honor, I'm 17 years old. In less than a year, I'll be an adult, and this won't matter anyway. But for the record, the man sitting over there is not my father. He's a stranger who shares my DNA. Emma, please, Daniel starts, but the judge holds up her hand. Let her finish, Mr. Henderson. Emma continues. My father died when I was 5 years old. He died the day he drove away from Grandma's house and never came back. I spent years waiting for him, believing he would come back, believing his promises. Grandma never spoke badly about him. She always said he loved us and was just struggling. But eventually I had to accept the truth. He abandoned us. I was young, Daniel pleads, desperately. I made mistakes, but I'm here now. Doesn't that count for something? Emma turns to look at him directly. Coldly, you're here because you need money, not because you love us. Grandma showed me the text messages. I know why you're really doing this. Those messages were, Daniel stammers. I read them, Emma says, firmly. You wrote that getting us was your way out of debt. You wrote that you could pressure Grandma for money. You wrote that she couldn't fight you in court because she doesn't have money for lawyers. Well, guess what? Grandma didn't need expensive lawyers because she had something better: documentation and truth. Michael stands next. He's quieter than his sister, more reserved. Your Honor, I don't really remember my father at all. When I try to think of my dad, I think of Mr. Chen next door who taught me how to ride a bike, or Pastor James who taught me to play basketball, or Grandpa Robert in the pictures Grandma shows us. But I don't think of Daniel Henderson. I could be that for you, Daniel says, his voice breaking. Tearfully, I could teach you things. We could build new memories. Michael shakes his head, sadly. You had 15 years to build memories with me. You chose not to. I'm not interested in starting now. Sarah speaks next, her voice smaller but determined. Nervously, Your Honor, I don't want to leave Grandma. She's my mom. She's the only mom I've ever known. Emma told me that our birth mom left when we were babies, and then our birth dad left too. But Grandma never left. She's been there for every single important moment of my life. My first day of school, my first dance recital, when I broke my arm, when I won the science fair. That's who I want to stay with. Jacob, the youngest boy, stands last, quietly. Your Honor, I just want to say that Grandma is 72 years old, and she still comes to all my violin recitals. She works hard to make sure we have everything we need. She helped me practice violin every single day for 5 years. That's love. I don't know what Daniel Henderson wants, but I know what Grandma has given us, and I'm not leaving her.
I'm crying now, unable to hold back the tears. These children, these beautiful souls who have been through so much, standing up for themselves and for me. Daniel is weeping openly. Please, Your Honor, they're my kids. They're my blood. I deserve a chance to make things right. Judge Morrison's face is stern. Mr. Henderson, children are not possessions you can abandon and reclaim at will. They are human beings with feelings, memories, and the right to stability. You don't deserve anything simply because you're biologically related to them. She turns to the children, gently. Thank you for your statements. You may sit down. I've heard enough to make my decision. The courtroom holds its collective breath. Mr. Henderson, Judge Morrison begins, firmly, I have reviewed the evidence presented by Mrs. Henderson. I have read the private investigator's report. I have heard from your children, all of whom have clearly and articulately expressed their wishes to remain with their grandmother. And I have observed your failure to disclose material facts to both this court and your own attorney. Your Honor, if I could just explain, Daniel starts. You've had 12 years to explain, the judge interrupts. 12 years to be a father, to make a phone call, to send a birthday card, to contribute even $1 to the care of your children. Instead, you disappeared completely, built a new life, and only returned when you needed money. She shuffles the papers on her desk. Furthermore, the evidence shows you have not only failed to support your children, but you have actively harmed them by stealing their identities to open fraudulent credit accounts. That is a criminal offense, Mr. Henderson. Daniel's face goes white, panicking. I can explain that. I was desperate. I made poor choices, but I never meant to hurt them. You never meant to hurt them. Judge Morrison's voice rises. You destroyed your 17-year-old daughter's credit before she even had a chance to build it. She'll be denied student loans, apartment applications, job opportunities because of what you did. How is that not hurting her? Mr. Pemberton,
Does your client understand the severity of identity theft, particularly when the victims are minors? Mr. Pemberton stands, looking exhausted. Your Honor, I was completely unaware of this aspect of the case. Had I known, I would have advised my client very differently. At this point, I'm questioning whether I can even continue to represent him ethically. That's your decision to make, the judge says, firmly. But for now, let's address the matter at hand, custody. She looks directly at Daniel. Mr. Henderson, I'm going to be very clear with you. Your petition for custody is denied. Not just denied, it's denied with prejudice, meaning you cannot file again unless circumstances change dramatically. Your Honor, please. Daniel stands, his voice desperate. Sit down, the judge commands, coldly. I'm not finished. Furthermore, I am issuing a restraining order. You are not to contact these children directly without their express consent. Any communication must go through Mrs. Henderson, and she has no obligation to facilitate contact if the children don't wish it. But they're my children, Daniel shouts, desperately. You can't just take away my rights as a parent. You took away your own rights, Mr. Henderson, the judge responds, firmly. The moment you abandoned your children for 12 years, you forfeited the privilege of calling yourself a parent. Mrs. Henderson is the only parent these children have known, and the evidence shows she has been an exemplary guardian. She turns to me. Warmly, Mrs. Henderson, I am granting you permanent legal guardianship of all 4 children until they reach adulthood. Your guardianship will include all legal rights and responsibilities of a parent. Additionally, I am ordering Mr. Henderson to pay restitution. Restitution? Daniel asks, weakly. Yes. Based on Mrs. Henderson's documentation, you owe $347,892.43 for the care of your children over the past 12 years. I am ordering you to pay this back at a rate determined by your income, with a minimum payment of $200 per month. Failure to pay will result in wage garnishment. Daniel looks like he might faint. I don't have that kind of money. I can't pay that. Then you'll be making payments for a very long time, the judge says without sympathy. Coldly, you should have thought about the financial responsibilities of parenthood before you had 4 children. Mrs. Henderson managed it on a librarian's salary in her 60s and 70s. Surely you can contribute something. She makes a final note on her papers. One more thing. I am forwarding the evidence of identity theft to the district attorney's office. They will determine whether to press criminal charges against you, Mr. Henderson. I strongly suggest you retain a criminal defense attorney.
The gavel comes down. This matter is concluded. Mrs. Henderson, you and the children are free to go. Mr. Henderson, you are ordered to appear in 30 days to establish a payment plan for the restitution. The courtroom erupts in a strange mix of relief and tension. Emma immediately hugs me, followed by Michael and the twins. They're all talking at once, crying, laughing, holding on to me like they're afraid to let go. I look over at Daniel. He's sitting alone now, Mr. Pemberton having already packed up his briefcase and left without a word. My son looks broken, defeated, smaller somehow than when we walked in. Despite everything, despite the anger and the betrayal and the years of abandonment, he's still my child. That instinct doesn't go away just because your child has hurt you deeply. Kids, I say softly, give me just a moment. Wait outside with Mrs. Chen. They protest, but I insist. Emma gives me a worried look, but shepherds her siblings out of the courtroom. I walk over to Daniel. He doesn't look up at first, just sits with his head in his hands. That was brutal, he says finally. You really went for the throat, didn't you, Mom? I presented the truth, Daniel. That's all. The truth went for the throat, not me. Same difference, he mutters bitterly. I sit down next to him, my old bones grateful for the rest. Softly, Daniel, I need you to understand something.
I didn't do this to hurt you. I did this to protect those children from being used. I wasn't going to use them, he says, but his voice lacks conviction. Yes, you were, I replied gently. Maybe not consciously. Maybe you told yourself it was about love and family, but your text messages told a different story. You saw them as a solution to your problems, not as people who deserved your love. Daniel finally looks at me. His eyes are red, his face blotchy from crying. Tearfully, I'm so messed up, Mom. Everything in my life is falling apart. I thought if I could just get the kids back, maybe I could feel like less of a failure. Maybe I could be the person I was supposed to be. Getting the children wouldn't have fixed your problems, I tell him. It would have made everything worse for you and for them. Those 4 young people have built lives, have friends, have schools they love, have stability. Ripping them away from all that to satisfy your need to feel like less of a failure would have been cruel. So what am I supposed to do now? He asks, and he sounds like a lost child. Desperately. I've lost my job, my apartment, I'm in massive debt, and now I owe you almost $350,000. My own mother just destroyed me in court. I didn't destroy you, Daniel. Your choices destroyed you. I just refuse to let you destroy your children, too. We sit in silence for a moment. Finally, I reach into my purse and pull out a business card. This is a gambling addiction counselor I found in Nevada. She specializes in people who are in crisis. I've already paid for your first 3 sessions. Daniel takes the card, looking at it like he doesn't quite understand what he's seeing. Why would you do that? Because you're still my son, I say simply. I won't enable your destructive behavior, and I won't let you hurt those children, but I also won't abandon you the way you abandoned them. The difference is I'm helping you in a way that might actually make things better, not worse. I can't promise I'll ever trust you again with the children, I continue. That's up to them now. Emma will be 18 soon, and she can make her own choices about whether she wants you in her life. The others will follow eventually. But if you want any chance of a relationship with them someday, you need to fix yourself first. Really fix yourself. Not for them, not for me, but for you. Daniel is crying again. I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything. For leaving them with you, for disappearing, for the text messages, for trying to use them. I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry isn't enough. Sorry never is. What matters is what you do next. You can spiral further into self-destruction, or you can take this as the wake-up call it is and actually change. That's up to you. I start to walk away, then turn back. Daniel, I do love you. I always have, and I always will. But love doesn't mean I'll sacrifice those children's well-being for your convenience. They've been through enough. I understand, he says quietly. As I walk toward the courtroom doors, I hear him call out one more time. Mom, do you think they'll ever forgive me? I pause, my hand on the door. I don't know. That's not my forgiveness to give. But I'll tell you this. If you get your life together, if you genuinely change, if you prove through years of consistent action that you're not the same person who abandoned them, then maybe they'll give you a chance. But it has to be real, Daniel. They've been lied to enough. I push open the door and step into the hallway where my 4 grandchildren, my children, really, in every way that matters, are waiting for me.
Emma rushes forward. Grandma, are you okay? What did he say?
He apologized, I tell her, and I told him the truth. That's all any of us can do. Are we going home now? Sarah asks, slipping her hand into mine. Yes, sweetheart, we're going home. The drive home is mostly quiet. The children are processing what happened, what they heard, what it all means. Michael finally breaks the silence from the back seat. Grandma, did you really spend almost $350,000 on us? I did, I confirm, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. You four are worth more than any amount of money. Will he really have to pay you back? Jacob asks. That's what the judge ordered, I say. Though honestly, I don't expect to see much of that money. Your father has a lot of problems to solve before he'll be in any position to make significant payments. Do you think he'll actually get help? Emma asks, sadly. The gambling counselor you mentioned? I glance at her in the rearview mirror. You heard that? The door wasn't completely closed, she admits. Pause. I know I shouldn't have listened, but I was worried about you being alone with him. That's very sweet, honey, I tell her. To answer your question, I don't know if he'll get help. I hope he does. Despite everything, he's still my son, and I don't want to see him destroy himself completely. But that's his choice to make. I don't think I can forgive him, Michael says bluntly, coldly. Not after the identity theft thing. He literally stole Emma's future. You don't have to forgive him, I assure him firmly. Forgiveness is a personal choice, not an obligation. And it certainly isn't required on anyone else's timeline. If you never forgive him, that's okay. If you do someday, that's okay too. There's no right or wrong answer. We pull into our driveway, the small house that has been our home for over a decade. It looks different to me now somehow, more precious. This is where I raised these 4 children. This is where we became a family. As we walk inside, Sarah asks, Grandma, can we have spaghetti for dinner with the garlic bread? I laugh, the tension finally breaking. Of course, sweetheart, spaghetti and garlic bread it is. Pause. That night, after dinner, after homework, after the twins' violin and piano practice, after showers and bedtime routines, I sit in my living room with a cup of tea and allow myself to process what happened. We won. The children are safe. Daniel can't take them away on a whim, but it doesn't feel like a victory exactly. It feels like the end of something that should never have had to happen. A mother shouldn't have to go to court to fight her own son to protect his children. A grandmother shouldn't have to document 12 years of expenses to prove she deserves to keep raising the grandchildren she loves. Emma appears in the doorway wearing her pajamas. Grandma, can I talk to you? Always, I say, patting the couch cushion next to me. She sits down and curls up against me like she used to when she was small. I'm glad you fought for us, but I also saw your face when you were talking to Daniel in the courtroom. You still love him, don't you? I do, I admit. I'll always love him. He's my son. But loving someone doesn't mean accepting their bad behavior. It doesn't mean letting them hurt people, especially not children who depend on me for protection. That must be really hard, Emma says. Loving someone and having to fight against them at the same time? It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, I tell her honestly. But you 4 are worth it. You deserve someone who would fight for you, who would put your needs first. That's what real love looks like. Emma is quiet for a moment. Grandma, I want you to know something. I don't just appreciate what you've done for us, I admire it. When I have kids someday, I want to be the kind of parent you've been to us, not the kind my biological parents were. I pull her closer, tears streaming down my face now. Emma, that's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever said to me. Pause. We sit together in the quiet house, and I think about all the years that brought us to this moment. The sleepless nights with crying babies, the financial struggles, the loneliness of raising 4 children alone in my 60s and 70s, the worry that I might not live long enough to see them all grown up, the fear that Daniel would come back and take them away. But also the joy. The first days of school, watching them grow and learn and become themselves, the soccer games and dance recitals and violin concerts, the laughter at the dinner table, the proud moments when they achieved something they'd worked hard for, the quiet evenings reading bedtime stories, the celebrations of every small and large milestone. This has been my life for 12 years, not the retirement I planned, not the peaceful golden years I imagined, but something better, something more meaningful, something that mattered.
3 months pass after the court hearing. Life returns to a new normal, one where we don't have to worry about Daniel showing up unexpectedly or filing more legal petitions. The restraining order gives us space to breathe. Emma receives her college acceptance letters. She's been accepted to a veterinary sciences program with a partial scholarship. She brings the letter to me with tears in her eyes. Grandma, I got in, and with the scholarship plus financial aid plus my work study, I can actually afford it. I'm so proud of you, I tell her, holding her tight. You've worked so hard for this. There's just one problem, she says, pulling back to look at me. My credit. Because of what Daniel did, I'm being flagged as a risk. My heart sinks. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Did you explain about the identity theft? I did, and they're working with me, but it's complicated, she says, frustrated. I've filed police reports, I'm disputing the fraudulent accounts, but it takes time. And in the meantime, it's affecting my loan applications. The anger I feel at Daniel in this moment is overwhelming. It's one thing to hurt me, to abandon his responsibilities, even to try to manipulate the courts. But damaging his daughter's future like this? That's unforgivable. We'll figure it out, I tell Emma firmly, determined. I'll co-sign if I need to. We're not letting his mistakes stop you from achieving your dreams. The next morning, I do something unexpected. I get in my car and drive to Nevada. It's a long drive, 8 hours, but I need to do this in person. I find Daniel's address from the court records. He's living in a cheap motel room now, the kind that rents by the week. When he opens the door, he looks shocked to see me. Mom, what are you doing here? I came to talk to you about Emma, I say firmly. May I come in? He steps aside and I enter the small, dingy room. There's a bed, a small table, and not much else. On the table, I see pamphlets from Gamblers Anonymous and a notebook filled with what looks like a budget plan. Are you going to the meetings? I ask, pointing at the pamphlets. Every day, he says quietly. And I'm seeing the counselor you paid for. I'm 32 days without gambling. That's good, I acknowledge. But Daniel, Emma's credit is destroyed. She's been accepted to college, but she's having trouble getting loans because of what you did. Her future is being damaged by your past mistakes. Daniel sits down heavily on the bed. I know. I've been trying to figure out what to do. I called the credit bureaus. I'm working with the fraud department, but they say it could take months or even years to clear everything. She doesn't have months or years. She needs to accept this scholarship and start in the fall. So, here's what's going to happen. You're going to write a detailed confession about the identity theft. You're going to contact each creditor and take full responsibility. You're going to do whatever it takes to get those accounts removed from her credit report. I will, Daniel says immediately. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll call them today. There's something else, I say, pulling an envelope from my purse. This is a check for $5,000.
It's for Emma's college expenses, books, supplies, whatever she needs that the scholarship doesn't cover. Daniel stares at the check, confused. Mom, I can't take your money. It's not for you, I say sharply. It's for Emma, but it's coming from you. You're going to sign this check over to her, and you're going to write her a letter explaining that you're trying to make things right. You're going to tell her about the Gamblers Anonymous meetings, about the counseling, about the 32 days clean. You're going to show her that you're actually changing. But this is your money, Daniel protests. Daniel, I sold my wedding ring to feed your children. I sold my mother's pearls to buy them winter coats. What's $5,000 more if it means Emma can go to college without being burdened by your mistakes? Besides, the court ordered you to pay restitution. Consider this a down payment that I'm making on your behalf. Daniel takes the check with shaking hands. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve your help. No, you don't. I agree. But Emma does deserve a chance at her dreams. And maybe, just maybe, if you follow through on actually changing your life, someday you'll be in a position to help her yourself. But for now, this is what we have. He nods, tears streaming down his face, sobbing. I'm trying, Mom. I really am. It's so hard. Every day is hard. The cravings, the debt, the shame of what I've done, but I'm trying. I know you are, and I'm glad. But trying isn't enough for the kids yet. They need to see results, see change sustained over time. Keep going to your meetings, keep seeing the counselor, fix Emma's credit, pay what you can toward the restitution, and maybe in a few years, you'll have something real to offer them.
Do they ever ask about me? Daniel asks quietly. Sometimes, I admit. Emma asks occasionally. The younger ones rarely mention you. You're not part of their daily lives, Daniel. You're not in their thoughts much. That's the consequence of 12 years of absence. He flinches, but nods. I understand. As I stand to leave, I turn back one more time. Daniel, I need you to understand something. I'm not doing this because I've forgiven what you tried to do in court. I'm not doing this because I trust you. I'm doing this because I believe people can change, and I want to give you the chance to prove that you can. But if you hurt those kids again, if you relapse and try to exploit them again, I won't be this merciful a second time. I understand, he says. Thank you, Mom, for everything, for giving me this chance, for raising my kids when I couldn't, for not giving up on me completely. The drive home gives me a lot of time to think. Was I right to give Daniel that money? Am I enabling him again, the way I enabled him as a young man when I made excuses for his behavior? No, I decide, this is different. I'm not protecting him from consequences. He's still facing all the consequences of his actions, the court orders, the debt, the destroyed relationships, the loss of his children's trust. But I'm giving him a tool to begin making amends. And more importantly, I'm making sure Emma doesn't suffer for his sins. When I get home, I call Emma into the kitchen. I need to tell you something. I went to see your father today. Her face closes off immediately, coldly. Why? Because your credit situation was eating at me, I explain, gently. I wanted to make sure he was doing everything possible to fix it. He is. He's been calling the credit bureaus, working with the fraud departments. It's a slow process, but he's actually trying. That's good, I guess, Emma says, cautiously. There's more. He's going to send you a check for $5,000 for college expenses. It's money I gave him, but it's coming from him, with a letter explaining that he's trying to change. Grandma, you didn't have to do that, Emma protests. Yes, I did. You shouldn't have to suffer financially because of his mistakes.
This gives you some breathing room while the credit issues get sorted out, and it gives him a chance to begin making amends, even if it's in a small way. Emma's quiet for a long moment. Finally, she says, "Do you think he's really changing, or is this just another manipulation?" "I don't know," I answer honestly, thoughtfully. "He says he's been going to Gamblers Anonymous for 32 days. He's seeing the counselor I connected him with. He's living in a motel room because he lost his apartment. He's experiencing real consequences. Whether that translates to genuine change, only time will tell." "I'm not ready to forgive him," Emma says firmly. "Even if he is changing, what he did was too much." "I know, honey," I assure her warmly. "And you don't have to forgive him. Not now, maybe not ever. That's entirely your choice. I just wanted you to know that he's trying, in case that matters to you someday." 6 more months pass. Emma starts college in the fall, thriving in her veterinary program. Michael makes the varsity soccer team. Sarah and Jacob both audition for the youth orchestra and get accepted. Life goes on, beautiful and normal and full. Daniel sends his restitution payment every month, exactly $200, the court-ordered minimum. It's not much compared to what he owes, but it's consistent. He also sends a letter once a month, addressed to me, but with separate notes for each of the children inside. I give the children the choice whether to read them or not. For the first few months, none of them open the letters. Sadly, they sit in a box in my closet, sealed and unread. But one day, I find Emma sitting on her bed with one of the letters open in her hands. Softly, she's crying. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" I ask, sitting beside her. "He's different," she says, showing me the letter. Tearfully, "He actually sounds different. Listen to this. Emma, I know I have no right to be proud of you, but I am. Your grandmother told me you got into vet school, and I cried when I heard. Not because I had anything to do with your success. I didn't. But because despite everything I did to hurt you, you're still becoming an amazing person. I'm 94 days clean now. I got a job washing dishes at a diner. It doesn't pay much, but it's honest work, and I show up every day. I'm paying what I can toward your credit issues. I know it's not enough, but I'm trying. I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect anything from you, but I wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and I'm working to become someone who might deserve a place in your life someday, even if that day never comes." "He's been clean for 94 days, Emma says. "That's more than 3 months." "It is," I confirm gently. "Do you think he means it this time?" she asks me, looking up at me with those beautiful, uncertain eyes.
Honestly, I think he's trying harder than he ever has before. Whether it lasts, whether it's genuine, we won't know for a while yet. Change that happens because of a crisis can disappear when the crisis passes. But change that happens because someone finally hits rock bottom and decides they can't live that way anymore, that kind of change can last. "I'm still so angry at him," Emma says. "But I don't know. Part of me wants him to succeed. Part of me wants to believe he can actually be different." Those things aren't mutually exclusive. You can be angry about what he did and still hope he becomes better. You can refuse to let him back into your life right now while leaving the door open for someday. There's no rule that says forgiveness has to be all or nothing. Emma carefully folds the letter and puts it back in the envelope. "I think I'll read the others," she decides. "Not because I forgive him, just because I want to know if he's really changing." Over the next year, something remarkable happens. Daniel's letters keep coming, 1 a month, documenting his journey. 6 months clean, 9 months clean, a year clean.
He gets promoted from dishwasher to line cook. He moves from the motel into a small apartment. He starts taking classes at a community college. And slowly, carefully, the children start to respond. Softly, Emma writes him a letter congratulating him on 1 year of sobriety, though she makes it clear she's not ready for more than that. Michael sends him a school photo. Sarah and Jacob draw him pictures from art class. They're not ready to see him. They're not ready for phone calls or visits, but they're acknowledging that he exists, that he's trying, that maybe someday things could be different. 2 years after the court case, on Emma's 20th birthday, my phone rings. It's Daniel. "Mom, I need to tell you something," he says, and his voice sounds different, stronger, more stable. "I've been clean for 2 years now. I just finished my associate's degree in culinary arts, and I got Emma's credit completely cleared. All the fraudulent accounts are removed, her credit score is back to 0, which means she can start building it properly now." "Daniel, that's wonderful, all of it." "I wanted to ask you something," he continues, nervously. "I know the kids aren't ready to see me. I respect that. But I was wondering if maybe I could send Emma a birthday present. Not money, nothing that feels like I'm trying to buy her forgiveness. I was thinking maybe I could cook her favorite meal and mail it to her. I remember she used to love my lasagna when she was little." "Daniel, she was 5 when you left. She doesn't remember your lasagna." "Oh," he says, and I can hear the disappointment. "Sadly, right. Of course not. But," I continue gently, "she loves lasagna. It's one of her favorite foods. I make it for her birthday every year. If you wanted to send your recipe, I could make it with her and tell her it's from you." "Really?" The hope in his voice breaks my heart a little. "Really," I confirm, softly. "You're doing the work, Daniel. You're actually changing. The kids see that. They're not ready for a relationship yet, but they see it. And someday, if you keep going the way you're going, maybe they will be ready." "Thank you, Mom," he says, "for everything. For raising them when I couldn't, for not giving up on me, for giving me chances I didn't deserve. I'm going to keep earning it. I promise." "I know you will," I tell him, and for the first time in years, I actually believe it. That evening, as I sit with my 4 grandchildren, young adults now really, around the dinner table, Emma opens an envelope that came in the mail. It's Daniel's lasagna recipe, handwritten on recipe cards with notes in the margins about the tricks to making it perfect. "Should we try it?" Emma asks, looking around the table at her siblings. Sarah shrugs. "I guess it could be interesting." "I'm willing to try it, as long as we don't have to like it," Michael says. Jacob nods. "Yeah, let's try it." So we do. The next weekend, all 5 of us crowd into my small kitchen, following Daniel's recipe, laughing at the mess we make, arguing about whether we've added enough cheese. When we finally sit down to eat it, the lasagna is delicious. Emma takes a bite and gets very quiet. "It's good," she says finally. "Really good." "Should we tell him?" Sarah asks. Emma thinks about it for a long moment. Then she nods. "Yeah, we should tell him." That night, Emma writes her first real letter to her father. Not a short note of acknowledgement, but a real letter. Softly, she tells him about college, about her dreams of becoming a veterinarian, about the lasagna. She doesn't say she forgives him. She doesn't say she wants to see him, but she says thank you. And she says she's glad he's doing better, and she signs it Emma instead of just her initial. It's a start. Now, sitting here, 3 years after that courtroom confrontation, I'm 75 years old. My arthritis is worse, and I'm slower than I used to be, but I'm surrounded by 4 incredible young people who call me mom, who love me fiercely, who are building beautiful lives.
Emma is in her 3rd year of veterinary school. Michael just got accepted to college on a soccer scholarship. The twins are thriving in high school, both with dreams of music school. And Daniel? He's 3 years sober, working as a sous chef at a decent restaurant, continuing to make his restitution payments. He's not a part of our daily lives, but he's not a stranger anymore either. The children write to him occasionally. Last month, Michael sent him a video of his championship soccer game. Last week, Emma called me with unexpected news. "Grandma, I've been thinking. I want to meet him. Not at his place, not alone, but maybe at a restaurant, with you there too. I think I'm ready to see if the person in those letters is real." "Are you sure, sweetheart?" "I'm sure," she said firmly. "I'm not promising anything beyond one meeting, but I think I need to see for myself if he's actually changed. And if he has, if he's really become someone different, then maybe we can figure out what kind of relationship we can have. Not father-daughter, not like before, but something new." The meeting is scheduled for next month. I don't know how it will go. I don't know if the change in Daniel is as deep and real as it seems, or if meeting his children face to face after all these years will cause him to spiral back into old patterns. But I do know this. Those 4 children are strong enough now to handle whatever happens. They know who they are. They know who has always been there for them. They know the difference between words and actions, between promises and follow-through. And they know that no matter what happens with Daniel, they have a home with me always. People sometimes ask me if I regret the way things turned out. Do I wish I'd had a peaceful retirement instead of raising 4 children in my 60s and 70s? Do I wish Daniel had been a better father so I wouldn't have had to step in? Of course I do. I wish my son hadn't abandoned his responsibilities. I wish those children hadn't had to experience the trauma of abandonment. I wish I hadn't had to sell my wedding ring and work 3 jobs and sacrifice my golden years. But I don't regret taking them in. I don't regret fighting for them in that courtroom. I don't regret any of it. Because the alternative, those 4 children ending up in foster care or growing up neglected, would have been unbearable. Sometimes love requires sacrifice. Sometimes it requires fighting people you love to protect people you love even more. Sometimes it requires documenting every receipt and taking photos and hiring private investigators and standing up in court and revealing painful truths. That's what real love looks like. Not the Hallmark card kind of love, but the get your hands dirty, make the hard choices, sacrifice everything kind of love. And you know what? It was worth it. Every sleepless night, every dollar spent, every worry, every moment of exhaustion. It was all worth it to see Emma thriving in veterinary school, to watch Michael score the winning goal in his soccer championship, to hear Sarah and Jacob perform at their orchestra concerts. These 4 young people are my legacy. Not the life insurance money, not the house, not any material possession. Them. Their kindness, their resilience, their ability to love and trust despite being abandoned, their success, their dreams, their futures. That's what I fought for in that courtroom. That's what I'll always fight for. Last night, Emma came over for dinner, just the 2 of us. She brought her laptop and showed me the scholarship she's applying for, a full ride for her final year of vet school if she's selected. I need to write an essay about someone who influenced my life, she said. Grandma, I want to write it about you. Is that okay? Of course, sweetheart, I told her, my eyes filling with tears. She read me what she'd written so far. The person who most influenced my life is the woman who saved it. When I was 5 years old, my father left me and my 3 siblings with my grandmother for what he said would be a few weeks. Those few weeks turned into 12 years. Those 12 years turned into a lifetime of lessons about what real love, real sacrifice, and real strength look like. I couldn't speak when she finished reading. I just held her hand across the table and cried. You know what's funny? Emma asked after a while. I used to be so angry that I didn't have a normal family. I was angry that my parents abandoned us, angry that we had to live with our grandmother instead of having a regular mom and dad. But now I realize I did have a regular mom. She just happened to be my grandmother. And honestly, I got a better parent than most kids with normal families ever get. That moment, that realization from Emma made every sacrifice worth it. The truth is, I didn't save those children. They saved me. After Robert died, I was lost, purposeless, just going through the motions of life. Those 4 babies gave me a reason to keep going, to keep fighting, to keep believing that tomorrow could be better than today. They gave me joy in my grief, laughter in my loneliness, and purpose in my retirement. They gave me a second chance at motherhood, and I like to think I did it better the second time around.
As for Daniel, I think about him often. I think about the little boy he used to be, the young man full of potential, and the broken adult he became. I think about all the moments where things could have gone differently, all the choices that led him down the path to that courtroom. And I think about the man he's trying to become now. 3 years sober is significant. Maintaining a job, making consistent payments, writing thoughtful letters, taking responsibility. These are real changes, not just promises. Part of me wants to believe he's finally become the father those children deserved all along, but another part of me knows it's too late for that. He can't give back those 12 years. He can't undo the abandonment, the identity theft, the trauma he caused. The best he can hope for now is to build something new with them. Not a father-child relationship, that ship sailed long ago, but perhaps something like mentorship or distant friendship, or family members who care about each other but maintain appropriate boundaries. That's what I'll tell Emma before the meeting next month, that it's okay to hope for the best while protecting herself from the worst, that she can give him a chance without giving him power over her emotions, that she can be curious about who he's become without erasing the reality of what he did. It's what I've learned to do myself. I can acknowledge that Daniel is trying to change while maintaining the boundaries that keep those children safe. I can hope he continues on this better path while refusing to enable any backsliding. I can love my son while prioritizing my grandchildren. It's a delicate balance, but it's possible. Love isn't all or nothing. It can exist alongside boundaries, alongside consequences, alongside accountability. 3 days ago, I received a letter from Daniel. It wasn't his usual monthly update. This one was different. Mom, it began. I've been working with my therapist on something called a living amends. It's the idea that beyond saying sorry, you have to live differently to show you've changed. I realize now that no amount of apologizing will ever make up for what I did, but I can live differently. I can be someone who shows up, who keeps commitments,
who puts others first, who faces problems instead of running from them. I've been saving money, not much, but some, and I wanted you to know that I've set up a small college fund for Sarah and Jacob. It's only got about $3,000 in it right now, but I'm adding $100 every month. By the time they're ready for college, it should be enough to help with books or supplies or something. I'm not telling you this because I want praise. I'm telling you because I want you to know that I'm thinking about their futures, trying to contribute in whatever small ways I can, even if they never know about it. Emma said she's willing to meet me next month. Mom, I'm terrified. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I can't be the person she needs me to be? What if seeing me in person makes her realize that I'm not actually different, just better at writing letters? But I'm going to show up. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to listen more than I talk. And I'm going to accept whatever she decides about our relationship going forward, even if that decision is to never see me again. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you for raising them to be people who can forgive, even if they're not there yet. Thank you for being everything I wasn't. Love, Daniel. I read that letter 3 times, and each time I saw glimpses of the son I used to know. Thoughtful, caring, self-aware. But I also saw the reality of a man who destroyed his own life and hurt the people he loved most. Can people really change? I think about that question a lot. Not in the abstract philosophical way, but in the concrete real-life way of a mother watching her son try to climb out of the hole he dug for himself. I think the answer is yes, people can change. But change is slow, difficult, and requires consistent action over years, not months. It requires hitting rock bottom and making the decision that you can't live that way anymore. It requires facing the full weight of what you've done without excuses or justifications. And even when people do genuinely change,
I want to tell you all something, I said, after we'd ordered. Your father has changed. I don't mean he's written some nice letters and made some promises. I mean he's genuinely different from the person who left you on my doorstep 12 years ago. He's been consistently sober for 3 years. He's working steadily. He's making restitution payments. He's taking responsibility. The children were quiet, listening. I'm not telling you this because I think you should forgive him or have a relationship with him, I continued. That's entirely your choice, and I'll support you no matter what you decide. I'm telling you because you deserve to have accurate information. The person he is now is not the person he was then. Does that mean we're supposed to forget what he did? Michael asked, an edge of anger in his voice. No, I said immediately. Never. What he did was wrong, and the consequences of those actions will last a lifetime. But you can acknowledge that someone has changed while still maintaining healthy boundaries. You can wish them well in their new life without inviting them into yours. Sarah, who had been quiet, spoke up. Grandma, do you think he loves us? Like, really loves us? Or does he just feel guilty? It was a profound question from a 13-year-old. I think, I said carefully, I think that he's learning what love actually means. When he left you, he thought he loved you, but his actions showed otherwise. Now he's learning that love is action, not feeling. That love is showing up, making sacrifices, putting others first. So yes, I think he's learning to love you properly. Whether that will ever be enough to make up for the years of not loving you properly, that's not for me to say. Emma reached across the table and took my hand. Grandma, you taught us what real love looks like. So even if Daniel learns how to love properly now, we'll always know the difference between someone who loves us when it's convenient and someone who loves us no matter what.
That's exactly right, sweetheart. Jacob, the youngest, asked the question that had been on everyone's mind. Are we all going to the meeting next month or just Emma? Just Emma for now, she answered. I need to see if the person in those letters is real before any of you meet him. I'm the oldest. I remember him a little bit, so it makes sense for me to go first. If it goes well, if he's really changed, then maybe the rest of you can decide if you want to meet him too. And if it doesn't go well, Michael asked, then I'll come home and we'll have pizza and forget about it, Emma said with a small smile. Either way, I'll be okay, because I have all of you. The meeting is scheduled for 2 weeks from today. Emma asked me to help her prepare, to think through what she wants to say, what questions she wants to ask, what boundaries she needs to set. We've been meeting for coffee every few days, talking it through. I don't want to go in there angry, she told me yesterday. I spent too many years being angry. But I also don't want to go in there naive, thinking that a few years of sobriety erases 12 years of abandonment. That's very mature, I told her. I learned from the best, she said with a smile. Grandma, what will you say during the meeting? I know you'll be there, but I'm not sure what your role should be. I think my role is to be present, to be a witness to the conversation, and to intervene only if I think you're being manipulated or hurt. Otherwise, this is between you and Daniel. You're an adult now, Emma. You get to decide what kind of relationship, if any, you want with him. What if he asks for forgiveness? She asked quietly. Then you tell him the truth, whatever that truth is for you. You don't owe him forgiveness just because he's changed. Forgiveness is a gift, not an obligation. You might forgive him someday, or you might not. Both are okay. I think I've already partially forgiven him, Emma admitted. Not for leaving. I don't think I'll ever fully forgive that. But I've forgiven him for being weak, for being broken, for not knowing how to be a father. I've forgiven the human being who made terrible mistakes. But I haven't forgiven the father who abandoned his children. I'm not sure I can. That's a very important distinction. And it's okay to hold both those truths at the same time. Yesterday, I did something I haven't done in years. I went to Robert's grave at the cemetery. I sat on the bench near his headstone and talked to him, the way I used to when he was alive. Robert, I said to the quiet air, I wish you could see them now. Emma's going to be a veterinarian. Michael is getting a soccer scholarship. The twins are both musically gifted. They're good people, Robert. Kind, smart, resilient. You would be so proud. The wind rustled through the trees, and I could almost hear his voice saying what he would have said. I'm proud of you too, Margaret.
I'm 75 now, I continued. Sometimes I'm so tired, Robert. My arthritis is bad and I move slowly, and there are days when I wonder how much longer I can keep up with everything. But I made it. I got them all nearly grown. Emma's 20, Michael's 18, the twins are 15. We made it. I sat there for a long time, just feeling the sun on my face and remembering the man I'd loved for 43 years. The man who would have supported me in taking in those 4 babies. The man who would have been proud of the way I fought for them in that courtroom. I miss you, I said finally. Every single day I miss you. But I think you'd be happy with how I've used the years since you left. I think you'd say I did good. The meeting day arrives faster than I expect. Emma picks me up in the morning and we drive to the restaurant, a neutral location, public enough to feel safe but quiet enough for a private conversation. She's dressed carefully, not fancy but put together, her hair neat and her expression determined. I'm ready, she says, though her hands are shaking slightly on the steering wheel. You are, I confirm. And remember, you can leave at any time. This is on your terms. We arrive early and get a table in the corner. Emma orders coffee she doesn't drink, just holds the warm cup in her hands. I order tea and wait. At exactly 2 o'clock, Daniel walks in. I barely recognize him at first. He's lost weight, looks healthier, and carries himself differently. Less hunched, more present. He's wearing clean clothes, his hair is cut neatly, and his eyes are clear. He sees us and stops, his hand gripping the back of a chair for support. For a moment, father and daughter just look at each other across the restaurant. Then Emma stands, slowly, and Daniel walks over. "Hi," she says simply. "Hi," he responds, his voice breaking. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me. You look so grown up, so beautiful." Emma doesn't hug him, doesn't reach out, just gestures to the empty chair. "Sit down, we should talk." Daniel sits, and I can see him fighting to keep his composure. "Emma, let me talk first," Emma interrupts gently. "I've been preparing for this for weeks, and I need to say what I came to say." "Of course," Daniel says immediately. Emma takes a deep breath. "I don't remember much about you from when I was little. I remember bits and pieces, a laugh, a bedtime story maybe, the way your car smelled. But mostly I remember you leaving. I remember standing at Grandma's window every day for months, watching for your car. I remember asking if you'd called. I remember the birthday cards that never came." Daniel's face crumples, but he nods. "I'm so sorry." "I know you are," Emma continues, "and I've read your letters. I know you're sober now, that you're working, that you're trying to be better. But I need you to understand something. I don't need a father anymore. I'm 20 years old. I'm in veterinary school. I have a life, a career path, dreams. The time when I needed a father was when I was 5 and 10 and 15. That time is gone." "I understand," Daniel says, his voice barely audible. "But," Emma continues, thoughtfully, "that doesn't mean we can't have some kind of relationship, just not the kind you probably hoped for. I'm willing to get to know you as the person you are now, as an adult getting to know another adult, not as daughter and father, but as two people connected by biology and history who are trying to figure out if there's anything else connecting them." Daniel looks up at her, hope flickering in his eyes. "I would like that, very much. And Emma, I want you to know, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just grateful for this chance." They talk for 2 hours. I mostly stay quiet, just present as Emma asked, watching as my granddaughter and son carefully, tentatively begin to build something new. Not a traditional parent-child relationship, but something more honest, more realistic. Daniel tells Emma about his journey through addiction and recovery. Emma tells Daniel about her studies, her dreams of opening a clinic for rescue animals someday. They talk about music. Both of them love jazz, it turns out. They talk about cooking, about books, about the weather. They don't talk about the 12 missing years. That's too big, too painful, too much for a first meeting. But the fact that they're talking at all feels like a small miracle. As relieving, Emma turns to Daniel one more time. "I'm not promising anything beyond this. I'm not saying we'll do this again, or that my siblings will want to meet you, or that we'll ever have a real relationship. But I'm glad I came. I'm glad I saw that you're really trying."
"Thank you," Daniel says tearfully. And this time, Emma lets him briefly hug her, a quick, awkward embrace that nonetheless feels significant. In the car on the way home, Emma is quiet for a long time. Finally, she says, "He was different, really different. Not just sober, but present. Like he was actually there, actually listening, actually interested in who I am rather than what he needs from me." How do you feel about that?
I ask, softly. I don't know yet, she admits, thoughtfully. Part of me is glad. Part of me is still angry that it took him so long to become this person. Part of me wonders if it will last. But mostly I just feel peaceful, I guess. Like I finally got to see for myself rather than just imagining or wondering. That's healthy, I tell her, warmly. Grandma, Emma says after another quiet moment, softly. Yes, honey? Thank you for everything, for raising us, for fighting for us in court, for keeping detailed records, for hiring that private investigator, for not letting him take us when he was just using us. Thank you for loving us enough to do the hard things. Tearfully, I reach over and squeeze her hand. You were worth every hard thing, sweetheart. All four of you were. 2 weeks later, Emma tells her siblings about the meeting. They gather in my living room, all 5 of us, like old times, and she describes the conversation, Daniel's demeanor, how different he seemed. So do you think we should meet him too? Sarah asks, nervously. Emma considers this carefully. I think you should do whatever feels right for you. Michael, you're 18 now, so you can make your own choice. Sarah and Jacob, you're 15, so you get to decide too, though Grandma might want to have more say since you're younger. Michael speaks first, coldly. I don't think I'm ready. Maybe someday, but not now. I'm still too angry about the identity theft thing, about what he did to you, Emma. That's completely valid, Emma assures him, warmly. Sarah looks at Jacob, and they seem to have a silent conversation. Finally, Sarah says, quietly, we don't really remember him at all. He's just a name to us, a person in old photos. We're not sure what meeting him would accomplish. Maybe when we're older and have more perspective. That's wise, I tell them firmly. There's no rush. He's been gone for 12 years. A few more years won't matter. Take all the time you need. And so that's where we are now. Emma has decided to stay in occasional contact with Daniel. A text every few weeks, maybe another meetup in a few months. The other 3 children have decided to wait. And I continue to be the constant presence, the stable foundation, the home they can always return to. Daniel continues his recovery, continues his restitution payments, continues to slowly, painstakingly rebuild some small connection with the daughter who was willing to give him a chance. It's not a fairy tale ending. Daniel isn't suddenly Father of the Year. The children aren't running into his arms with joyful tears. The years of abandonment aren't erased by a few meetings and letters. But it's real. It's honest. It's a family slowly, carefully, finding a new way to exist together. Not as the family they were, not as the family they might have been, but as the family they actually are, with all the complications and scars and broken pieces that come from people who hurt each other, learning to exist in the same space again. As for me, I'm proud. Proud of those 4 children for their resiliency, their wisdom, their ability to set healthy boundaries. Proud of Daniel for finally doing the work he should have done years ago. And maybe in a quiet way, proud of myself for fighting the fight that needed to be fought, even when it meant standing in a courtroom and exposing my own son's failures. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes it means drawing hard lines. Sometimes it means choosing between 2 people you love and deciding who needs your protection more. And sometimes years later, love means creating space for redemption, while maintaining the boundaries that keep everyone safe. That's the story of how my son took me to court after 12 years to get his children back, and how a private investigator's report on his $78,000 gambling debt revealed his true motives.
It's a story about abandonment and sacrifice, about manipulation and truth, about consequences and grace. It's a story about 4 children who deserved better and one grandmother who made sure they got it, even when it meant fighting her own son in court. But most of all, it's a story about what real love looks like. Not the easy kind, not the convenient kind, but the show up every day, make the hard choices, sacrifice everything when necessary kind of love. That's the love I gave those children. And in return, they gave me purpose, joy, and a reason to keep going when everything seemed hopeless. We saved each other, really. And that's the most beautiful ending I could have asked for. So, tell me, did you like my story? I hope it resonated with you, made you think about what family really means, what love really looks like. Sometimes the most powerful families aren't the ones bound by easy circumstances, but the ones forged through fire and sacrifice. If this story touched your heart, I'd love to know, which city are you listening from? Are you a grandparent raising grandchildren? A parent trying your best? Someone who was raised by someone other than your biological parents? Whatever your story is, know that you're not alone. Family isn't always about biology. Sometimes it's about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when it would be easier to walk away. Thank you for listening to my story. May you find the strength to fight for the people who need you most, and may you recognize the difference between those who love you with words and those who love you with actions. Until next time, remember, the truth always comes out, and when it does, it changes everything.